Football season has come back as this week is week one, so it feels like now is a good time to make some football videos, starting it off with the very own New York Jets. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about the Jets and just how I feel about them and kind of my prediction for the season and this team. And when you look at the year they had last year, finishing with a record of 7-9, they definitely were underwhelming and disappointing. There were a little bit of expectations for the Jets going into the season. New head coach, new offseason acquisitions, particularly guys like Le'Veon Bell and CJ Mosley were the real standout players. Year two of Sam Darnold, so you can't say, oh, well, rookie quarterbacks, you can kind of give them a pass and things like that. No, this is very different for the Jets now. We're in year three of Sam Darnold, and we have not seen big-time improvement. We know that the NFL is a very quarterback-driven league, and that is why the most important player to this team is Sam Darnold. Now, there are two ways to feel about Sam Darnold and the New York Jets offense this year. When you look at it, last season, it was not very good. Like I said, they brought in Adam Gase to be this offensive-minded head coach, and you didn't see an upgrade in the offense at all. If anything, it probably looked worse. So now you're saying to yourself, okay, well, it's the same system. So how do we know that all of a sudden the system is going to be good now? But on the flip side, Sam Darnold has a second year with this system to see if maybe he'll improve now that he understands it a little better. You have to hope that Le'Veon Bell is much better this season than he was last year, because with the money the Jets gave him, they paid him like he was going to be one of the top running backs in football, which he had been prior to his first season as a member of the New York Jets. He is now getting a little older, and running backs do not age very well. I find it very interesting that the Jets' backup for Le'Veon Bell is a running back who is even older in Frank Gore. And even though Gore gave the Bills a little bit of production, some nice carries here and there, he's not that big a time a running back. And what I don't like about this Jets running back core is I don't see the explosion. I don't see the big plays, the game-changing breakaway plays that could really flip the momentum in a game where you hand it off to the running back or you throw a little check down to them and all of a sudden they take off for a huge play. I just don't see that kind of, burst of speed in Le'Veon or Frank Gore. Unless you're going to tell me that their third-string running back, La'Mical Perine, that he's going to come in and all of a sudden make these big plays for the Jets, I find that a little hard to believe. How many snaps is he really going to get? You'd expect Le'Veon Bell to get almost all the snaps, and then which ones he ever doesn't are probably going to Frank Gore. So it would be hard for La'Mical to even get the opportunities that he would need to be a big-time game changer. My next big problem with the New York Jets is the wide receiver core. It doesn't impress me. It doesn't stand out to me. I have been, on the record and of the mindset that the Jets have got to get more targets for Sam Darnold. I mean, it's plain and simple. It is very hard for a quarterback to become a great quarterback when he doesn't have great weapons to throw the ball to. I would have liked the Jets to retain Robbie Anderson, and not because Robbie Anderson is this amazing wide receiver. He's not this, perennial Pro Bowl, max dollar type guy. But what he did have was a nice, relationship that was building with Sam Darnold. And I think that's extremely important for a young quarterback to have a receiver that he could trust and just have a chemistry made. You know what I mean? Because any great quarterback receiver combination, it comes with years of experience and working together. So the fact that the one guy that Sam Darnold was really getting used to and throwing the ball well to in Anderson is now gone. So now you're going to replace him with Breshad Perriman, who so far to this point in his career has been a big-time disappointment. When he was first drafted by the Ravens, knee injury, and he really couldn't get anything going. Had a good year last year, but now he's dealing with some, leg injury again. So I still am a little concerned about Breshad Perriman. I know he has speed, but he's not a big-time number one wide receiver. This possession guy that if Sam Darnold's in trouble, he could, throw the ball and Breshad Perriman's going to make a big-time play. He isn't that kind of receiver. And then you look at, the rest of the receiver core, and again, it doesn't impress you. I mean, Jamison Crowder, and Crowder had a pretty decent year, don't get me wrong, but again, not this big-time wide receiver that's going to make these huge plays for the Jets. Then you have Chris Hogan, who definitely had some nice plays with the Patriots, and Tom Brady, you know what I mean? This is not a Josh McDaniels, Tom Brady offense. This is an Adam Gase, Sam Darnold offense, which is very different. So I can't ensure that Hogan is going to be open as often as he was with New England with the kind of plays that the Jets are going to be calling. And what it all comes down to for this New York Jets offense, the one thing that you really have got to keep your eye on, is going to be one of the most important things their entire season. That is the offensive line. Because we've talked about it a lot with both New York teams, is that neither one of their offensive lines have been great in recent years. it makes it very hard for a young quarterback to do well when they don't have enough time in the pocket to make the necessary reads and deliver a accurate pass to the open receivers, and even create lanes for the running back to go through for the Le'Veon Bell or the Frank Gore. And the Jets, they obviously knew that the offensive line needs to be upgraded, seeing how bad it was last year. And they made some changes to the way the offensive line is going to look, using their top 10 first-round pick on an offensive tackle in Mekhi Becton, who as of right now looks like he's going to be the left tackle. So we're interested to see what Becton is going to do. We obviously know the physical specimen he is. He is a really, really just massive player, and we'll see how that translates. It's one thing to be big, but are you skilled? Are you going to be productive? You know what I mean? Will he be able to not only be big and powerful, but can he keep the side-to-side quickness and not just let these explosive pass rushers run right by him before he can even get his hands on them? That's something you have to worry about. And obviously staying healthy, that's going to be important, especially for a guy that size. It is not always easy to stay on the field. So I'm curious to see what Mekhi Becton does, and he's going to be very important. Being that Sam Darnold is a right-hand throwing quarterback, we always know that protecting the quarterback's blind side is one of the very most important things for a football team. Another big move that the Jets made for their offensive line was getting Connor McGovern to be their center. Now, center is also an extremely important position on your football team and for your offense because that is the person hiking the ball to the quarterback. And ideally, you would like somebody for the quarterback for years to come where, they have a really good relationship. They understand the snap count. They understand the plays, and they know exactly when and where and how to deliver the ball to the quarterback. Now, this is going to be the first time that Sam Darnold has been under center with Connor McGovern as the center. And you just want to see how that pairing is going to work out. You anticipate that it will be better than last season, but still, it is going to be new, and it is going to be an adjustment. So you can't just tell me that right away, boom, the Jets are going to be better offensively because, again, how well will these new players work with the system that Adam Gase is trying to install? And then you have Greg Van Roten taking over for Brian Winters, who's no longer on this offensive line. So it's definitely a different looking offensive line other than Alex Lewis still being at left guard. So I still have my concerns about the offensive line only because it is unproven. If when the regular season starts and the offensive line is actually playing well, that would definitely change my outlook on this team. But as far as the offense is concerned, it was the main problem for the Jets last year because their offense was ranked as one of the lowest overall in all of football. Not only passing the ball, but running the ball as well. And there are multiple reasons for that. We know that, first of all, Sam Darnold was out way too many games with the mono. We know that Le'Veon Bell did not have the year that he's supposed to. Like I said, the receiver core isn't great. One of the more important players on this offense also is their tight end, Chris Herndon, who missed a lot of time last year. So between injuries, the system not working, Darnold not being available, not having enough offensive line protection, Le'Veon Bell not playing as well as he should, there was just a lot of problems on this offense last year. One thing that concerns me is that for the most part, it is the same personnel. And again, it's a lot of hope. That's what I'm not crazy about for the Jets. That you hope that Darnold is showing improvement and Le'Veon, and that Brashad Perriman can fill in for Robbie Anderson and stay healthy. Same goes for Mims. You hope that Chris Herndon can be healthy and that these new offensive line pieces are going to get the job done. Because I'll give you a Giants example. When they signed Nate Solder, it was like, okay, now the Giants got a big-time left tackle. He had been good for so many years with the Patriots. Then he comes to the Giants, and he's not the same offensive lineman, and now he's like one of the biggest problems on the Giants. So you really hope that that doesn't happen for the Jets. And you know what? When it comes to teams like the Jets, for me, they don't get the benefit of the doubt. They have been so disappointing and just overall bad the past few years that they don't get the, okay, you know what? It's the Jets. They'll be okay. They always find a way to win. That's not the case. The Jets always find a way to lose. Things never seem to go their way. So I find it just very skeptical that this offense is going to be better. We won't know until they're actually on the field. But that's just my takeaway because I still don't see these big-time star players. I don't see this established Pro Bowl offensive lineman. I didn't see a big-time receiver coming in or a new running back that could give you, more big-time plays. I still have a little bit of worry exactly how well this offense will perform, especially if we're not really how good of an offensive coach Adam Gase is. The defense, on the other hand, was significantly better than we expected. Greg Williams did an outstanding job as the defensive coordinator of the Jets, and that was the strength of their team, was their defense. The Jets lost a really important piece in the offseason, trading away Jamal Adams after he made it clear he did not want to be on the New York Jets anymore, so the Jets did what they had to do, and that was trade him to the Seattle Seahawks. And at least you're able to get a safety back in Bradley McDougald, and you also were able to get some draft picks to use to also help your team in whatever areas that you may feel that they need to be upgraded. Now, we don't think that McDougald is going to be anywhere close to the caliber player Jamal Adams is, so already your defense has gotten worse, and that's not necessarily good. CJ Mosley was supposed to be brought in here to be that big-time middle linebacker to really change this defense, and he was hurt all of last year, and he opted out for this season. So another year, no CJ Mosley. However, the Jets did get Avery Williamson back to be their middle linebacker after he had missed last year with injury as well. So you do like that the middle linebacker position should look better. Avery Williamson did a good job last time he was healthy 2 years ago for the Jets, and you hope that he could just be that same player. You can't guarantee in football after an injury that you're going to have the same player from the past prior to the injury. So I do want to see exactly the kind of effect that Avery Williamson has on this defense. And we talked about, not necessarily making anything crazy happen as far as personnel changes. And I think the same could be said for the defense on the New York Jets. One of my big concerns on their defense is Quinnen Williams, because this is a guy they took with their top 3 picks, and he was not amazing for them. He was not the guy that they were expecting or hoping for. He definitely was disappointing. So you hope that in year 2 he could be a little better. But the thing that I don't like about the Jets is I don't see other players on this defensive front that are really going to make Quinnen Williams that much better. I like Steve McClendon. I think he's a nice, veteran run stopper in the middle of your defense. And, Henry Anderson, not amazing. We know Jordan Jenkins and Terrell Basham both played well last year, but they aren't these top-tier pass rushers that are going to covet so much attention from the offensive line that all of a sudden Quinnen Williams may be single blocked or perhaps not blocked at all and just able to get through easier because the rest of the defensive front will help him out. I don't see that happening. So it's hard for Quinnen Williams to really have that much more of an impact if there's not other people on the front taking attention away from him. So we do want to see if Quinnen Williams will show some improvement and be more of that player that the Jets hoped when they took him with that high draft pick. The other position that concerns me a little bit is cornerback. It is a whole bunch of young players, whether it's Pierre, whether it's Bless Austin or Brian Poole, who played well last year as well. But still, it definitely is some young corners. You worry about how they'll do as far as penalties and playing against some of the top receivers, and that is another big problem for the Jets this year, is their schedule. We're going to do the schedule breakdown right now, and it is not an easy schedule at all. I just don't think the Jets are going to have that great of a season because, number one, I don't think their team is too great, and number two, they're not facing a lot of easy teams. So starting off in week 1, which will be this Sunday at 1 o'clock p.m., going up against the Buffalo Bills, I see a loss in that game for the Jets because Buffalo had a really good year last year. They have improved even more, obviously getting somebody like Stephon Diggs for Josh Allen to throw to and see Josh Allen continue to develop on the Buffalo Bills team. I see the Bills still being probably the best team in the AFC East, and that is why I just can't see the Jets week 1 beating them after the Jets have not necessarily shown me improvement, but I believe Buffalo is going to continue to get better and better. So I see a week 1 loss happening. In week 2, the Jets are so fortunate because they get to face the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers. After the disappointing Super Bowl that the 49ers had, blowing the big lead, there's going to be a big redemption year for them. And I think the 49ers are going to come out there with a bit of an edge and really try their best to prove that, they are a team to be reckoned with and could be a perennial Super Bowl contender. And I don't see the Jets matching up well with San Francisco. I don't think that this brand new offensive line is going to be able to have the communication and even the talent to keep up with this defensive front of the 49ers with all of the pressure they're going to be under with all the young pass rushers that they have. And Sherman in the secondary really making problems for a young quarterback like Sam Darnold. So I don't see that 49ers game going well at all. Week 3, the Jets have a matchup against the Indianapolis Colts. And the Colts, they were a little bit inconsistent last year, but getting an established veteran quarterback like Phillip Rivers, even though the Colts won't be amazing, the Colts will still be solid. And I feel more comfortable about the Colts than I do with the Jets. And for that reason, the Jets just are not better than the Colts, and I don't see them beating them. So that is also a loss. So right now, the Jets are 0-3 on the season. Luckily, the Jets finally get an easy game in week 4 when they face the Denver Broncos on Thursday Night Football. The Broncos are a team that I do not feel highly of because they still have not figured out their quarterback situation. They had Joe Flacco make some starts for them last year. He is now the backup quarterback for the Jets. And the Broncos, they lost Von Miller for the year as well. That's a huge piece of their team gone. They lost Chris Harris. That's another huge part of their defense. So the Broncos, they continue to not really impress me. And after winning that Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, have only gotten worse and worse and worse. So I just don't see the Broncos, even as bad as the Jets may be, I think the Jets will outplay the Denver Broncos like they did, last time these teams met up. So I do see the Jets at least winning that game. The next game is against the Arizona Cardinals, which will be probably one of the tougher ones to predict because Arizona was a team that, while they were competitive, they weren't able to win as many games as they could have. The Arizona Cardinals had a lot of close finishes, and I think that another year for Kyler Murray and adding in a big-time receiver like DeAndre Hopkins and, drafting Isaiah Simmons for their defense, I think the Cardinals are a team that definitely is on the rise and is improving, and that is why I would have to pick them over the Jets because the Cardinals showed a lot more promise last season than the Jets did. Because like I said, the Jets just had a bad year, and with the personnel being so similar, especially the coaching, I find it hard to believe that the Jets are going to be way better than they were last year, especially offensively, because that's where it's going to come down to. We know the defense played well, but will the offense be that much better? I mean, with the inconsistencies of the health, especially those receiver core and the tight end core, and even Sam Darnold, I just can't really predict the Jets winning all these games. Their next matchup is against the Los Angeles Chargers, and right now, you would think that the Jets should win this game, although we don't exactly know how good Justin Herbert is going to be. We will get a much better feel for a prediction on that game closer to game time because we'll already have a little over a month of Justin Herbert as a member of the Chargers, or maybe even Tyrod Taylor, and just know how good the Chargers actually are because last year they definitely were underwhelming. They did not live up to the talent that they had on their roster, and obviously longtime starter Philip Rivers is gone. We talked about him being with the Colts now, so having a rookie quarterback for the Chargers, they don't project to be that good of a team, so I think the Jets definitely have a chance of winning that game. The next matchup for the Jets will be against the Bills, and again, I still think the Bills will be better not only on October 25th, but also on September 13th. The Bills are still the better team, and I just don't see the Jets have the strength to really beat them, because the Bills beat them in the head-to-head matchups last year, and like I said, Buffalo is only getting better, so I really don't see the Jets winning that game either. The next game for the Jets, not only did they face the team that won the NFC, now they get to face the team that won the AFC in the Kansas City Chiefs, and we know the Chiefs are just so stacked and loaded with talent, and this is at Arrowhead Stadium. I would say the Jets stand no chance in that game. That is an automatic loss. Unless Mahomes is hurt, which you don't count on, the Jets are not going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead Stadium. I would be beyond shocked if that happened. The next game is a Monday Night Football against the New England Patriots, and despite Tom Brady not being there, Cam Newton is going to fill in, and we don't know exactly how good Cam is going to be following his injury, but we do expect Cam Newton to at least be competent and at least keep the Patriots competitive. Now, the problem is that even though Tom Brady isn't still there, the last time they just faced the New England Patriots on Monday Night Football, that was the Sam Darnold seeing ghost game. So Bill Belichick is still in charge of that Patriots defense, which means that Sam Darnold is still going to have a tough time against that Patriots defense. So if he sees ghosts again on Monday Night Football again, there's no way the Jets are winning that game. So I have to count that as a loss. The next game for the Jets is at Miami, facing the Miami Dolphins. And the Dolphins, similar to the Chargers, we won't get a great feel for them until we know how good Tua Tagovailoa is going to be for Miami. By mid-November, we'll know if the Dolphins are good or if Tua isn't exactly as good as they hope to be. The Dolphins showed some promise last year, and they beat the Jets both times. So this game, I feel like it's going to be close, and I think I just have to give Jets a loss in this one because I think that Miami, again, they showed improvement as the year progressed, and I feel like with Tua, they're going to be even better. So I do expect Miami to win that game. The Jets have a bye week after that and get to face the Miami Dolphins again, this time at MetLife Stadium. I think with the Jets having an extra week of preparation and being home, it gives them a better chance and will probably be yet another close game. And I actually have them winning this game against the Miami Dolphins. I would hope that they would at least split the season series. I mean, they can't lose both games to the Dolphins again, can they? Maybe, because again, it is the Jets. They don't get the benefit of the doubt like some other teams would. Next game for the Jets is versus the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Raiders, they had a lot of trouble last year. Their team has not gotten any better. I still think they're going to have some in-house problems, and will it be Derek Carr? Does Gruden really love Carr? If not, they're going to use Mariota. I still think the Raiders have too much of an unknown element for them, so I have to give the Jets the win there because I really don't see the Raiders having a good year this year. The Jets' next game will be at Seattle to face the Seahawks and Jamal Adams, and we know how tough it could be playing in Seattle. I mean, will there be a crowd in December? I'm not sure. That could really make a big difference because we know that the Seahawks really feed off their crowd and play much better at home. But if there is no crowd, it makes it a little more neutral. But regardless, I mean, the Russell Wilson offense is tough and the Seahawks defense is always tough. So I don't see the Jets going to Seattle and beating the Seahawks because the Seahawks, they have a lot to prove, and they're going to be a team that's going to be really competitive and in the playoffs again. The Jets' next game is at Los Angeles to face the Rams. And the Rams, they're going to be another interesting team because they're yet another team last year that did not meet expectations. I have to imagine that the Rams will be better this year, and they are better than the Jets. So again, I just can't give the Jets that win. That is another loss for me. The second to last game for the Jets is going up against the Cleveland Browns. The last time the Jets played against Cleveland, they did not do well. And the Browns, they closed the season on a positive note last year, and you have to think they're going to build on that momentum and try to, become a better team. They've tried to make as many moves as they can to upgrade that team. They also addressed their offensive line. They added Austin Hooper at tight end, so I have to give the Browns the edge in that game as well. The last game of the season for the Jets will be against the New England Patriots in New England. And this game, I have the Jets winning only because it seems like a kind of game that the Jets would win where it's end of the season. They've already lost too many games, as I predicted, so they kind of will just go ahead and win that game and end the season on a positive note. But have it not be enough, although I have the Jets finishing with a 6-10 record, and I think that's a pretty fair assessment because last year they were 7-9, and like I said, there is not that much improvement from this team, and the schedule is just too tough. I think the Jets division is actually better than you think, so I mean, facing the Bills twice, Bill Belichick and the Patriots twice, and even the Dolphins twice, those aren't easy wins. And the fact that they have to play teams in the West like the Chiefs and the 49ers and the Seahawks, and even the Rams, I consider all those losses. The Jets, again, they haven't shown me enough improvement in the offseason for me to really believe that. Obviously, we will get a better idea of the Jets as the season progresses. We'll see if Sam Darnold and the offense does improve, and if the defense could stay the same way that it was last year, which was really good. And we'll know about those other teams that they're going to match up better against. Will the Chargers be good? Will the Raiders be good? Will the Rams be good? There's going to be a lot of question marks surrounding a lot of different teams because there were a good amount of changes as far as starting quarterbacks are concerned in this offseason, which definitely is going to make for a very interesting NFL season. To keep up with my NFL videos for the season starting very soon, make sure to subscribe, like this video if you did enjoy this video, comment what do you think about the Jets and some of the other teams in their division and across football, and there will probably be a Giants version of this video as well, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Maybe a Mets-Orioles video. It's not looking likely. I mean, the Mets were so disappointing last night that they don't even warrant a video because, again, as I've said before with the Mets so many times this year, what more could be said that hasn't been said already? We're seeing the same problems. The pitching is not letting them in games. Waka has been awful. Gazelman has been awful. The bullpen's bad. So, I mean, the Mets just continue to lose, and they're losing to the Orioles. The Yankees are much more interesting because they lost again to the Blue Jays while the Orioles won. So the Orioles are now one game behind the Yankees, and the Yankees are at 500. So if the Yankees lose again, they're going to be under 500, and things are just going in a downwards trend for them. So they're very fascinating. Obviously, the Islanders, Game 2 is extremely important. They have got to bounce back and just establish themselves as a competitive series again. If they have another bad loss to Tampa Bay, 2-0, and having two ugly losses, that would be very hard to come back from. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this one, and until the next one, be safe, be smart, be healthy, and have a good one, everyone.